Your results are only ever as good as your self-image. It's kind of like, as an athlete, you can't out-train a bad diet. Your diet's going to be, your limiting factor. So it's the same as that. Your self-image is your limiting factor. How you see yourself, what you see yourself being able to achieve, how you see yourself taking action, habits, those kinds of things, decisions, and ultimately all of that will be in alignment with your self-image. So if you try to change the external things, the habits, the programs, all that, without changing the self-image, you're always going to find leaks. You're always going to be limited. You're, hit that kind of ceiling of achievement. Great to see you. Great to be here with you. How you doing?
I'm awesome. Thank you. What about you?
I'm doing great. We're having a beautiful day here today. So really enjoying that.
Yeah. Now that is awesome. We have had a beautiful day as well. And thank you very much for connecting with me through this stream. And hopefully we will be able to provide some valuable insights for people, how to move on, how to make maybe some kind of breakthrough, because, well, based on my experience working with you, it's like very easy or very likely to happen.
Yeah. So I'm excited to get in with you, get into it, and help your audience kind of break through in the way that you did.
Yeah. So for anybody who is like listening or watching even later, the reason that I invited Shauna here is because I've been working with her for the past 6 months, and she has been very helpful, not only for me, but especially to me, from my experience, in helping me achieve some mindset breakthroughs. And the point here is, or how I view this topic is that we all have some kind of maybe mindset issues or ways how we sabotage ourselves, and that prevents us from moving forward in whatever it is in our life. And you are actually teaching sales, mostly, predominantly, but we can use the same exact mindsets, principles, and so on to make breakthroughs in any area of our life. So let that be an inspiration. So can you just introduce yourself a little bit about you, how you got into that, and what you are doing right now?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, thank you for having me here. And I'm so proud of you to see the progress that you've made in the 6 months that we worked together. So honored. Yeah, a little bit about me, how and you're absolutely right in that your mindset, when it helps you to be successful in sales, but also in life. So the same principles can apply. But a little bit about me, how I got into sales and into the mindset piece was really just in being a leader of leaders that I see myself as I am. I'm always looking for an edge. So I'm always looking and kind of going into the new places to see where I can find an edge. And the reason why I prioritize doing that is because when you look, you find. So seek and you will find. And so having that edge is so important, and in any area of life. If you truly want to be successful, whether it's in your business or in your relationships, or in your day-to-day habits, like if you're an athlete, a lot of your audience I know are Spartan racers, and so as an athlete, and you want an edge. I was an athlete in college, played Division I, and I was always looking for that edge. And, as an athlete, I find it in weight training. And that was before weight training was cool, and definitely before it was cool for women, And so I always was training my mind. And I was a golfer. And so golf is a very mental sport. And so you're always having to visualize what you want to see happen. And you're always looking for how to make each time you play, each swing, each round better. And so that I don't even know where that comes from, that desire, that kind of drive. I just know I've always had it. And so when I moved into the business world, into sales, I brought that same mindset. Like, how can I get an edge? How can I improve this a little bit better? And how can I really bring the people behind me? How can I teach it to them so that they can ultimately benefit? And then I can teach them the next thing. And so kind of just rolled on from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I see that there is like an overlap when it comes to this, because many people that I work with, or who I really love to work with, are leaders, like mentioned. They are looking for that edge in their personal life, relationships. They want to be their best. And maybe some of you watching right now don't even realize it, but even if you have like a family, you are a kind of leader in that family on a small scale. So you are influencing all the time someone around you. So whether you want to be a high-performing athlete, high-performing in terms of your own, let's say, ability, we might not be like an Olympic athlete, right? But we all want to maybe test that edge and maybe also push the boundaries and see what's possible in any area of your life. Now that will be beneficial for you. So what do you see to be like the major obstacles for people in achieving that, in finding that edge?
The biggest thing, and that's a great question, Daniel. The biggest obstacle is in how we see ourselves. So it's our mindset, but specifically related to how we see ourselves, or what's also called your self-image, because you can put all the strategies, you can kind of surround yourself with so many different things, and whether it's fancy things or it's just other people or other systems and processes and programs, all this stuff, but it's only as good as your self-image. Your results are only ever as good as your self-image. It's kind of like, as an athlete, you can't out-train a bad diet. Your diet's going to be, your limiting factor. Mm-hmm. So it's the same as that. Your self-image is your limiting factor. How you see yourself, what you see yourself being able to achieve, how you see yourself taking action, habits, those kinds of things, decisions, and ultimately all of that will be in alignment with our self-image. So if you try to change the external things, the habits, the programs, all that, without changing the self-image, you're always going to find leaks. You're always going to be limited. Hit that kind of ceiling of achievement. Yeah.
So if I understand that correctly, that is like about your identity. Is that right? Because I wrote like recently about this, that sometimes, like, especially like people who train, they want to improve their performance, but it is not their job. They don't view themselves as athletes, and therefore they pretty much shoot themselves in the foot by sabotaging themselves, like not paying attention to food or whatever, but because they are putting that obstacle in their mind that, oh, but I'm not an athlete, right? So why would I pay extra attention to this or to that? Do I understand that correctly?
Well, that piece it just comes down to your beliefs. So it is about identity, yes, but it's also about what you believe. So if you believe that only athletes look after themselves like that, then that's more the issue than how you see yourself. Because if you're not an athlete, you're not going to have the self-image of an athlete. And so your kind of your biggest obstacle there would be Yeah. What is it that you believe that's ultimately keeping you stuck where you are? And what do you need to believe in order to move through that?
Mhm. So once we identify like this is something that we can work on, like about our self-belief and that kind of identity, how would a person then put solve that issue, right? How would they change the way that they view themselves?
Yes, that's an amazing question, and um, that's ultimately going to be the change, because you can know that you need to have a different self-image and you need to think differently, but how do you do it? Because if you don't know how to do it, then you know you have a problem, but you don't have the solution. And so that's ultimately where you come in, Daniel, is teaching your people, what I've taught you is in how to change your self-image. So there's one very specific way that I have to do that. And the way it's not hard. It's very simple, actually, but it does take practice. So, and kind of to give you an idea of kind of where this fits into your mindset, is if you think about the person who doesn't have a job, right? Let's say they've just finished college, don't have a job because they don't have experience. They can't get a job because they don't have experience. Nobody's going to hire them. Oh, you're not experienced, right? Well, how are they ever going to get experience if they don't get a job, right? This is the way, and it's actually through your imagination. Why your imagination? Well, when you understand how your mind works, how your subconscious mind works, and how your imagination works, and why imagination, it's in your what's called your reticular activating system, your RAS, and that's the part of the brain that tells you stories. So it could be a memory that actually happened, or it could be a visualized memory that you've just visualized. It's the same thing in your mind. Your
like your brain
mind
can't distinguish it, right?
Not really, no. When it's imagined, well, when you've put, when you've put the emotion into it and you kind of made it a vivid picture, and especially when you do that repeatedly, you're giving your mind evidence, experience that what you're trying to create has already happened. Do you see? So it's like shortcutting the process of the guy that can't get a job because he doesn't have experience. How does he get experience? Well, he imagines himself having that experience and imagines the things that he's doing, and that gives him the self-identity of, well, I have experience, and so therefore he can have more confidence and get the job. And so does that make sense? So the same kind of thing works whether it's in sales, whether it's in your business, in your life as an athlete, and you're just looking after your family. It's in your self-image, and the way to create that is, like I said, to imagine, to visualize yourself doing the specific things that you want to be doing, and you give yourself enough emotion within those images that gives your mind the real evidence. The same thing as if you're training, professional athletes.
Right.
So many studies are proving that that your body doesn't know the difference between a very vividly imagined thing and something that actually happened. And so you can have much better scores, results, times as an athlete when you just imagine yourself practicing. You can get as good as the results imagining it than actually practicing. So
I guess you have used that in golf a lot.
Well, I use it before every single shot. I would always, whether it's, I'm putting on the green, I'm just trying to get a 4-foot putt. I'm not just imagining I was in the hole. I'm imagining how fast it's going in. I'm imagining how it what angle it goes in at, all those things vividly. I stand up on the tee box, hit a drive. I imagine exactly where I want it to go, how I want it to curve, all of that. Now, it doesn't always happen just like that. Obviously, the better you get, the more it does. But that power of imagination, so crucial for improving your results in any area of life.
And I guess you just hit the nail on the head right now, or mentioned a very important thing, which was also kind of sticking point for me. That was like imagining where you want to go, right? Because let's say now there is some situation is happening. For example, there is war, there is crisis, there is whatever happens. There will be probably financial crisis soon. Anyway, so these are external circumstances that happen. We cannot maybe influence them, but we can influence how we react to them, or we can also prepare and imagine where, or focus on where we want to get. That's the kind of imagining or visualization that you are speaking about. Is that right?
Yeah, it ultimately comes down to your responses to what's happening. So your situations don't define your results. Your responses to the situation define your results, which means that external situations do not influence your results because you're in control of your results, but you're in control of your responses.
Awesome. So there are actually several ways how I use this also with my clients, and that was like imagine like what is maybe the worst thing also that can happen, and in that way you are not taken aback or surprised by these negative circumstances or negative events in your life. So there is like a premeditation, and then also what you mentioned, like how to navigate these events in a way where I want to go instead of focusing on where I don't want to go, because many people I think automatically drive their focus on where they don't want to go.
Very true. Yeah, because as humans we're very good at knowing what we don't want, where we don't want to go, and we usually have a pretty clear picture of what we don't want, but we usually have to be intentional to think about what we do want. So yeah, you're absolutely right.
And actually, there is like, or this is what I find that many people struggle with when I ask them like, where would you like to get? Like, what is the ideal outcome that you want to get? Like, how your life could look like? Well, ultimately, where you want to get? How do you want to live your life when it comes to your eating, when it comes to your training, performance, whatever, happiness, and so on. And they cannot imagine that. So they cannot visualize it. They cannot connect to that feeling, like how it would feel. That's what we were speaking about now. So do you have any tips how to troubleshoot that?
Yeah, what you have to actually do first is remember a time that you were very successful. So it doesn't have to be a big thing that you were successful in, but whatever it is that brought you a feeling of achievement of being successful. It could be the first time you learned how to tie your shoes. It doesn't matter what it is, but that's the first step, is to remember the feeling. So see what happened at that moment, remember the feeling, and from there, then you go into starting to create the picture of what it is you want. So you don't have to know everything. It can become clearer with practice. So you might just know let's say, for example, give me an example of what your audience would typically want, and then we can kind of build out what that might look like.
Yeah, so for example, they usually want to make, when it comes to eating or nutrition, make it almost automatic, right? They don't struggle with eating. They And there is this exactly. They know what they don't want. So they don't want to struggle with eating. They want to make it like simple, not to think a lot about what to eat. And there are almost like no obstacles. So they don't have like uh, sugar cravings or whatever it is. So everything is like easy for them, and everything, yeah, it just fits like pieces of puzzle together.
Yeah, so you gotta look at what the biggest struggle is. So for example, if they want to be eating, like let's say I'm talking to someone now who you want to be able to eat without overeating, and you want to be able to have self-control versus stress eating, right? So for example, imagine yourself, first of all, being successful, doing something you did really, really well. Maybe you graduated from college, you maybe ran a race really well, and you just felt like you're on top of the world. Then you imagine yourself in a stressful environment, but you're peaceful. And so you can build up what the details of the stressful environment are. But the first thing is imagine what the trigger is that normally would trigger you. So imagine that happening, and then imagine how you're going to respond. You practice that. So it could be a minute, 2 minutes a day. And just that alone will give you the confidence, the experience in your mind, the self-image that you have confidence when you feel stressed. You can manage, you do have self-control. You can manage what you eat. So you got to look at what the biggest struggles have been, what the trigger to those have been, and then just imagine your response in the way that you want it to be. Does that give you a good example?
Yeah, I guess the takeaway points here is like imagining where you want to get, but how it will be, it will depend on the actual struggle. So this would be more like on person to person basis. And also, I think repetition is important. So creating that kind of reflex, I would say, and it gets easier the more you do it. So at the first time, like with maybe if somebody tried to start with meditating, it can be like really hard at first to just not think about anything. But as you practice it, it becomes easier and easier. Yeah. So I have also a lot of people who say that they know or they have all the knowledge that they need, but they just don't do it. So how would you troubleshoot that? Maybe do you have any thoughts on this?
Well, why? Why is it that they don't do it? Is it that?
Yeah. So
is it that the thing that they want to do is just too far outside of their abilities? That could be one possibility. It could be that they need something else. It could be that they just don't see themselves doing it. It could be that they believe that that's, not in alignment with what they're realistically able to achieve, long term. So I would have to understand like why. So you got to ask why. Ask your clients, why is it? Why do you think? And a lot of times, they won't know. But a great question is totally fine if you don't know. What would you say if you just had to guess? And so you can usually uncover what is the real reason underneath. A lot of times it's going to be belief. When you really understand thinking patterns, it's most often down to belief, thinking patterns, and you start to build up some skill sets around that, gain your confidence with repetition. But really, often what I was saying there as well is kind of make the goal smaller. and make sure that it's
Right.
in alignment with their, where they're really wanting to go and what they see as achievable for them. So
Right.
trying to customize approach.
Yeah, I really like that. So it's like there are different reasons or different, let's say, root causes of that same problem. And the person, if they are, for example, troubleshooting it by themselves, they need to first understand why it is so. What is the root cause? Why I'm struggling with this? If it's like lack of knowledge, but they are saying no. So if it's not a lack of knowledge, then maybe it is, yeah, I'm just want to do too much. In that case, we can scale it down, or it is any kind of belief that maybe I should be doing much more, or whatever it is. So that there are different, different root causes, and it's really hard to pinpoint that, like when speaking generally. And this is like
You've also got to look at their what else is underneath their decision making process. And so it could be like, let's say for most people, they don't get good enough quality sleep and recovery. And so
yeah, totally.
Trying to change their eating, let's say, when they don't have enough sleep and energy, then it's going to be a little bit further back up the line that you've got to actually look at the root. And then that's going to go into their beliefs. But yeah, you've got to ultimately do some detection, especially with their hat on.
Definitely, that's like where the coaching comes into the place for people to understand. And that's like, I think this is a really great example of like what is the role of a coach, for example, assisting people really to delve deeper into that, because many just say like, yeah, just give me a meal plan or whatever and I will be able to do that, adhere to it. Well, the reality is that most people can't do that. They have the meal plan, but then emotions come into place, stress eating, and whatever else it is. Life happens.
Yeah, which is ultimately, just to support you in your role as a coach, because I know how good of a coach you are, is you're absolutely right in that having just a meal plan or something like that is actually not going to serve you, because you need a coach. You need to hire Daniel to fill in those gaps, to give you the skill sets and the habits that you need that are going to be foundational in supporting your long-term goals. And so a lot of times we kind of don't give ourselves a real chance at success, because we're just looking for the cheap or the quick fix, the silver bullet. And ultimately there's a cost when you kind of do something to try to do, like kind of do something on your own. There's a cost to that, and it's always in most cases going to be more than what you're saving. So, don't step over pounds to save pennies. Do you know what I mean? So being wise in making your decisions around investing in yourself as a, into your health by hiring a coach. So think about your self-worth. Think about what it would be like if you actually achieved the goals that you're setting for yourself, and you actually had someone in your corner like Daniel that could support you through that, navigate through the problems that come up, so you're not on your own. You've got that high level of support and encouragement and strategy in Daniel.
Thank you very much. And we have a message from Gediminas. I hope I pronounced the name right. Great topic. Thank you, guys. Yeah, I know he's also a coach, so deeply appreciate it, and thank you for watching. So I think we covered this topic pretty much without having like all the details or specific person to work with, I think that's the most that we can do at this time. And I really appreciate for you showing up here and sharing your wisdom. And I believe that somebody had at least some small breakthrough while listening or watching this. And I would like to also promote you. So, what do you do? How can people connect with you, and who should connect with you?
Yeah, so where my expertise is really in the sales and the mindset training. So especially for coaches who are wanting to sell their services with confidence and with ease. And there's a few different pieces that go into that. There's things like money mindsets and self-image and all that type of stuff go into it as well. But it's ultimately having the mindset and the skill set around being able to have sales conversations with confidence.
Yeah, and I think we have a really great example, actually, of how a sales mindset can help you in other areas of your life. And that was Nikolai, the guy from Ukraine. So maybe you can mention also him and put him as inspiration, maybe to just expand on the topic.
Yeah, so we talked with Nikolai yesterday. He's one of our students and he's in the Ukraine. He had to flee. Him and his family had to flee, and they obviously had no notice. They couldn't take anything with them. Genuine, legit crisis, right? And he said that he was starting to get into a depression, into that kind of victim mindset where you're thinking about what they're doing to us. Having your power taken away, having your job taken away, her wife having her job taken away. You have to move out of your home. You can't even take your clothes with you. Very, very basic things, survival. And so they, so he was saying that, having that, he took personal responsibility. So he remembered some of the mindset and the sales training that I taught him and that we taught him, as coaches, and found shelter and went outside of his comfort zone to look for it. But it really came because a door opened because he took an intention to be positive. So instead of having that kind of downward spiral, he decided he's going to think positive. He's going to take action in faith. And he actually connected with the mayor of the city that he was in. And they put him up for free, him and his family. And it was amazing connection. And so he's just over the moon about that. And then he's obviously had to pivot to everything online. All of his clients were in person in the Ukrainian, gym. And gym's closed, everybody's away, so they had to do a very quick pivot online. And he's doing amazing things. So another really great online nutrition coach, with as a great example for someone who does not allow our external circumstances to determine their results. Who takes personal responsibility, who realizes that it's our responses that determine our outcomes. It's not the situation. And so he's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. He took massive action. In the
yeah.
direction that he wanted to go. Right.
Yep.
And I think there is one more point that I would like to bring about this situation, about Nikolai's course of action. And it is like some people think that they need to be cornered to take that massive action. And I think that this is like, once again, belief, right? So you don't need to be cornered. You don't need to be in these extreme circumstances to take action.
Yeah, because most all of us are not ever going to be in that situation, right? To have to flee our homes because of war. But yeah, having that belief and the mindset that we can take massive action anyway, it ultimately comes down to our motivation.
Yeah, also Sarah shared, like, thank you guys for sharing this with us. Yeah, we are
Hey,
happy
Sarah.
if it's helpful.
Yeah.
So, where can people connect with you? Is it on Facebook, or I know that you are running some challenge?
Yeah, I'm running a high ticket with ease sales challenge and we start on the 9th of March. It's highticketwithease.com. And yeah, you can also connect on my Facebook page. My Instagram link is on there as well. But yeah, that's kind of something that's coming up. Free challenge in the next week, just to really start to understand, put the pieces together around how to sell with ease. It's not about being pushy. It's not about burning yourself out and just talking to more people. It's actually a lot to do with your thinking. And so kind of my job is to unravel your thinking and help you to have thinking that aligns with where you want to go.
Yeah, and I mean, Shauna can really be very helpful because she always asks the right question and challenges your beliefs in a very safe manner, I would say.
Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you, Shauna, once again. It was really a pleasure for me to speak with you again, and have a great rest of the day.
My pleasure. So proud of you as a coach and on the community and the impact that you're building. So just want to honor you and say, I'm so proud of you. So thank you so much. And for anyone that watched, hope you took something good out of that. Go take action on it. And appreciate the opportunity to come and speak with you.
Yeah, let us know in the comments what kind of action are you taking based on that.
There you go. Yeah. All right, Dana, have an amazing rest of your day.
You too. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
So, guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I hope that you enjoyed this. And yeah, let us know what kind of action are you taking based on this information that you had. If you had any kind of breakthrough or any kind of insight, let me know. What was it for you? Have a great rest of the day. Keep focused on where you want to go.